Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. I'm Valerie Green, Love Coach. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join tonight. I promise that it'll be in a power-packed webinar, and it is attract and keep soul-shaking love and remove the blocks to attracting soul-shaking love, which is the kind of love that makes you want to jump out of bed to be with the love of your life in the morning because you connect on a mind, body, heart, and soul level, which is what I have and which is what I've helped many women of all ages throughout the world to attract. And truth be told, I'm not a morning person. So when my partner jumps out of bed in the morning and kisses me and says, yay, we get to spend our lives together, then I become a morning person. And that's what I want for all of you. So in this webinar, I've found that coaching women over the past 13 years has led me to find that there's 3 unconscious pitfalls that women fall into that sabotage them from finding the love that they deserve. And so over the next hour, I'm going to go into detail about those pitfalls and how to avoid them and how you can be magnetic to the love that you deserve. Also, over the next hour, I'm going to answer your questions, and I might not get to all of them at the end, but you really want to stay till the end for a couple of reasons. First of all, because I look forward to answering your questions at the end, and this is an opportunity to bring up anything that's been frustrating you or confusing you about love. And now you get to have some support for free in this webinar. So feel free to type your questions into the chat box. There's a chat box, and you can even type your name in there now and say hello. I'll say hello to you, so don't be shy. And I might not get to your questions until the end, so that's one reason to stay until the end. The second reason to stay until the end is because I'm going to be teaching a little known connection tool for how to create a deep connection on a date and to nearly guarantee that he's going to be mesmerized by you. So when clients have used this tool, they've found that having a guy not call you back is a thing of the past, and you have your pick of high quality men to choose from to find that soul-shaking love. So you might even want to turn off your cell phone now and eliminate possible distractions, because what you're about to learn can be the key to you really removing the blocks that you've been experiencing to find the love that you really deserve. And that's what I help women to realize is what's preventing them from attracting love and truly owning on the inner and outer level how you can be magnetic to the love that you want. So that's what we'll be talking about. So before we get started, I'm going to share a little bit about me and my story and why I'm so excited about helping you attract lasting love. So I have to admit, finding quality men has always been easy for me. The thing that I struggled with is keeping love alive in the long term. So in fact, when I met my partner, he told me that he wasn't looking for a committed relationship. And it was through applying all the principles that I'll go over in this webinar that he was gradually inspired to keep showing more and more commitment to me. And in fact, he said shortly before we moved in together that, and I'm going to quote him, and he said that I could, that you've so beyond blown away my doubts that I had in the beginning about committing to you, like a bulldozer over matchsticks, obliterated them. It just feels so good to be with you in every way imaginable. And now I just feel so secure and excited about the future that we're creating together and how we inspire each other to be who we most deeply want to be in the world. And that's what I want for all of you. So I continue to train with the top relationship experts in the world, like John Gottman and Sue Johnson, who are the most results-oriented relationship researchers and therapists in the world. And then I attended the Relationship Coaching Institute, which is the largest relationship coach training program in the world. And I distilled all their teachings, and I really discovered the formula that had allowed me over the years to attract quality conscious men. And so when I started showing that formula to my clients over the years, then they started to have breakthroughs in their love lives and attract the men, the quality men that they'd wanted, and getting engaged and married. So I knew that I had to present this formula to more people. So what it comes down to is this. If you want to attract the kind of love that makes you jump out of bed in the morning and be happy to be spending the rest of your life with this person, then you can have that. All you need is a little faith and a little support and a formula that actually works. And I believe that this webinar can be the solution that you're looking for. So let's get started. Now, I do have the webinar running on another computer, and I'm noticing that I'm not seeing the video. So can somebody just type into the chat box and let me know if the video is coming through okay? It might just be my other computer. And I know there's a 30-second delay, so I don't want to keep the people that are watching the replay waiting. But if somebody could just type in into the chat box whether or not you can see the slides or not, I'm going to start sharing the slides. So I'm just going to assume it's working because the video is on and everything looks like it's working on my end. So I'm going to start the slide presentation. Okay, great. And I'm just going to continue. If someone wants to type in the chat box that they can see me and hear me, that'd be great. And I will just continue with the slide presentation. So here's what you're going to learn in this webinar. Simple secrets of how to avoid the 3 pitfalls to attracting love so that you can be magnetic to your Mr. Right. How to transform the limiting beliefs that are sabotaging you from finding and keeping your Mr. Right so that you can finally be free to experience extraordinary love. Why you keep attracting the same negative pattern again and again, and how to finally break out of it. And the 3 key skills that you need to learn to attract a high quality man, inspire him to commit, and maintain love, intimacy, and passion for the long term. And it would be worth staying just for that, right? And it's easier than you think. All right, I'm not getting any messages from, oh, I see your slides and I hear you. Thank you, Lori. Woohoo. All right, we're gonna keep going. Okay. So here's where a lot of the women that I work with are coming from. So just notice if you can relate to any of these. You've been on too many dates to mention, and you're feeling resigned and hopeless that love can find you. I've certainly been there at points, even though I've always attracted quality men. Of course, I've spent years being lonely and feeling like, when will my life partner ever come in, right? Or maybe you're scared or confused at why there don't seem to be high quality or conscious men out there, or all the good ones are taking. You're saying, maybe I'm just too picky. Or maybe you keep attracting the same kind of partner again and again. Or you keep attracting unavailable men and you want to finally break out of that pattern and find lasting love. Or maybe you've suffered from feeling disappointed or heartbroken or rejected and are ready to throw in the towel, and you want guidance and what to do differently, and you need a plan, which is exactly what we'll be talking about. You might have stories that you're too old or you're not attractive enough, and just let me tell you, I have worked with women that have been what society considers overweight, and men like every single body type, I assure you. I have worked with women that have been in their 60s and have found love. So I really assure you that there is a lid for every pot, as some love coaches like to say, but there really is. If you have the desire to attract soul-shaking love, then you can have it. And we just need to identify what's in the way and what actions you can take. So I just want to say that these struggles are not your fault, because over the past 50 years, the roles between men and women have changed more than they've ever changed in history. So this is great because we've been freed up of the role of, wife and mother as the only role that we're supposed to want. Like, 70 years ago. And men have been freed up from the provider and protector role as the only role they can have. And so we can actually create who we want to be in the world. And that allows us to have greater freedom, but we also need new models to follow. It's like we're pioneers, and our motivation for going into relationships is not just survival and procreation as it had been for millennia, but now we really desire flourishing and thriving and reaching our higher potential together, right? So we can birth a new possibility, which is extraordinary love. So if you desire to be loved and cherished and adored, if you really desired somebody to be a safe haven for you to support each other and who you're both becoming, and a man that's going to be a real partner to you, whom you respect and who accepts you and meets you on every level, and you want mutual security and passion, right? With a man that'll collaborate to plan romantic dates and bring you flowers and whisk you away romantic getaways. And for those of you that are on a personal growth or spiritual path, you want to be spiritually met and joined together as one to heal your wounds and grow together to whatever you both want to create in each other to be. And you know that deep down that a secure relationship is a strong foundation for thriving and achieving, and you deserve that. You really deserve to be met on all levels. And I'm here to tell you that if you have the desire for that, that it's more than possible with the right tools and a proven system. So let's dive into the 3 pitfalls that women get caught in that prevent us from finding and keeping lasting love. And you might have heard some of these before. So I'm just going to go into detail in what they are and help you to just do the exercise. You might want to have a journal or just take notes on your computer to identify what these blocks are as we go through them. And then I'll talk about how I help women overcome them. So the first pitfall is our limiting beliefs. It's all well and good for us to say affirmations and start to believe that we're lovable and attractive. But if deep down we believe that we're not good enough, or that we'll have to settle, or that all the good men are taken, then that's what we'll attract. And I'm going to explain why that is in a minute. It's not just like woo-woo attraction stuff. Many of these beliefs are unconscious. So take a moment to notice what happens when I say to you, your Mr. Right will walk into your life very soon. Are you 100% in alignment with that? Or is there a voice that says something like, no, you won't because you're too this, or you never did that? But that's okay, because that's what needs to be reprogrammed, and you can do it. So in this webinar, I'll lead you through a short practice to identify and reprogram your limiting beliefs so you can feel it in your bones that you deserve love and that you are going to get it. So first, I'd really like you to understand how life is happening through us, not to us, through the filter of our beliefs. So in New Age and spiritual circles, we hear that we are the creators of our experience and that somehow we create our experience through our beliefs about how things are. But for many of us, it occurs like there's a big computer in the sky that's sending us experiences that match our beliefs, like magic, right? So let's take a look at how this actually occurs, how we generate our experience so that we can have the tools to generate the experiences that we want. So what happens is that we interpret what's happening around us, and then we respond based on those interpretations. So we see evidence that our belief is true, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, of course, this all started when we were children. We create most of our beliefs, believe it or not, between the ages of 0 and 5. And so, for example, if your father was narcissistic, I mean, most of our beliefs about love, because, you know, that's like how we interpreted whether or not we were loved and why we were or weren't. So, for example, let's say that your father was narcissistic and he couldn't really see or mirror or reflect your feelings. So you're likely to make false meaning out of that. Because as children, we have 2 choices. We can decide that our caretakers are inadequate or crazy, which is too scary because then you might die. Or then you can decide that there's something wrong with you, in which case you have a chance of fixing it one day. So that's actually not as scary for a little one to take on the belief that there's something wrong with you as it is that there's something wrong with your parents, right? Or that they're just not skilled enough, or that there's, they're not loving themselves, or, little kids aren't old enough to understand that. So understanding how things are makes us feel safer, even if it's not true. So you might decide that I'm not wanted, or my feelings don't matter, or I can't have what I need, or love means that one person gets what they want and the other person has to sacrifice. So take a moment to notice if that might be similar to your story, or if you had another version of not getting your needs met as a child and you created a limiting belief about yourself as a result. So you can write down what this might have been for you, and feel free to ask any questions about this. And I can answer them throughout, and I can get into them in more detail at the end. So the thing is, when we relate with men from the belief that I'm not wanted, for example, we take actions based on this belief that generate evidence that these beliefs are true. So that's how it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So for example, if you believe that you're not wanted, then you might try to figure out who you need to be to get love from men, who they want you to be. So you might do things to try to earn love so that he will give you love underneath. And of course, then you're not being your authentic self for him to want. That's not an attractive quality to a man. He's just going to smell your inauthenticity and not be attracted. But I want to highlight here how it's actually the belief that created the self-fulfilling prophecy that you're not loved. I mean, that you're not lovable, that you have to try to figure out what he wants, that created him not being attracted. That if you really were being your authentic self and you really were sharing your feelings and your desires and your true self, then a high quality man would have been attracted to you. It's how you showed up inside of this belief that can generate evidence that the belief is true. So would you like to know how to shift these beliefs? I hope so. So the good news is our beliefs dictate our experience until we become conscious of them. So once we're aware of them, we don't have to let them run our lives anymore. It's like our brain is a computer running outdated programming, and it'll keep running until we update it. So I'd like to give you a short process that you can do now to shift this belief to a new belief. And of course, it'll be a shorter process in the webinar, but it'll start the ball rolling. So the first step in the belief shifting process is to identify what the limiting belief is. So I'm going to give you a list of limiting beliefs that my clients have had over the years. And also, I'd like you to just notice what happens inside of you when I say something like, "Your Mr. Right will meet you very soon." So do you feel unworthy or deserving, or do you have a belief about all men are? So here's some of the beliefs that my clients have had over the years. I'm not good enough. I don't belong. I've had that one. I'm not safe. I'm a burden, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not attractive enough. All the good ones are taken, or all men are. There's no such thing as true love. I'll have to settle, or I'll be rejected or abandoned, or I'll lose myself if I love. Those are some of the common ones. So just go ahead and write down what it might be for you. Which one feels like, oh yeah. For me, for years, it was I don't belong. And then out of that belief, I would try to be like other people, or I would rebel and just try to be different. And then I wasn't being my authentic self. And then I would feel awkward, or I would be self-critical. Did I say the wrong thing? And then I wasn't having fun. And so obviously I wasn't attractive. So it wasn't until I did the process that I'm going to talk about, that I do with my one-on-one and group coaching clients, that I was able to reprogram the memories that created that belief in the first place and realize the truth about that belief. Because the truth about the belief is that, well, on the highest level, we belong because we're here, right? Of course we belong, or we wouldn't be here. But then on the human relative level, we belong with some people and not others, right? So then it's about identifying what are my top values and who else in the world shares those values. And that's, your tribe. So it's really about learning how to tell the truth of that belief. So before we do that, let's just notice the consequences of believing this in your adult life. It might have kept you safe as a kid, but in your adult life, how are you showing up inside of this belief that generates evidence that this belief is true? And now, here's how I help people shift these beliefs. So right now, I'd like to just have you ask yourself, what is the truth about this belief? So just like that belief, I don't belong. What is the truth about that belief? And it won't come from your thinking mind, right? Because your thinking mind is what came up with the limiting belief in the first place. But go to your heart and go to your gut and ask your heart and your gut, or if you have a connection to your higher self, ask your higher self, what's the truth of that belief? And if you get an answer, that's awesome. That's what I guide people to do in my one-on-one and group coaching. And if you're not getting an answer yet, that's okay. You can ask your rational mind, what is a more empowering belief? Like, for example, if it's I'm not wanted, look at like the people that do want you or have wanted you. So it might be like, I'm wanted by some people and not others. Let me create the type of people, or think about the type of people that I would want to want me, that I want. That the right man is going to want me. I haven't found the right man yet, right? So just create a more empowering belief that you might not believe yet, but the way that we actually convince our mind that this new belief is true is we look for evidence that this new belief is true. So what are 3 reasons this new belief is true? And you can write those down. And I'm sure that, because that's the great thing about the mind, it's like a machine. If we give it a task, then it'll accomplish it. So ask your mind to tell you, what are 3 reasons that this new belief is true? Or what are 3 examples of it being true? Because that's how you start to convince your mind that the new belief is actually truer than the old one. But that's not what actually reprograms it in the long term, because these beliefs are created by you interpreting the evidence that's happening around you, right? Like you're a little kid, your parents don't listen to your needs, so you create the belief, my needs are not important, right? It comes from observing evidence. It's interpreting it in the wrong way, but it comes from observing evidence. So what we need to do to reprogram the belief is take action from the new belief and create new evidence. Because if I take action from the belief that I'm wanted, for example, I'm going to be more confident, right? I'm going to go out and meet new people. I'm going to be my authentic self. I'm going to share my desires and have healthy boundaries and actually attract quality people into my life. And then I'm going to feel wanted. So it's not just about believing that the new belief is true. It's about taking action. So what different actions would you take if you believe this new belief is true? That's really where the rubber hits the road. So there's 6 simple steps that fit together like a puzzle in my belief shifting process that I coach people in my group coaching program, how to use them so they work. And learning them is an interactive process because your brain is like a computer and we're creatures of habit. So each time we think a new thought and we take that new action, it creates a neural pathway in our brain. And our old beliefs are like huge superhighways, right? New beliefs are like little paths through the forest that we're making bigger each time we take action from our new belief. So forging this new path or new habit of thinking and acting takes consistent practice before it becomes your new reality. Because you created this belief in relationship with others, and it helps to change it in relationship with others, reflecting back to you the truth of a new, more empowered belief on a consistent basis over time. So for example, I worked with a client named Vanessa, who after her divorce, she said, she went through 8 years of a whole lot of nothing in my romantic life. A lot of really short, crappy attempts at relationships. That was her words. And when we uncovered her belief, she discovered that because of an experience in childhood, she didn't fully feel safe being wanted by men. So she was unconsciously pushing men away. She was also used to producing results, but not comfortable being in her feminine and receiving and feeling and intuiting and owning her feminine radiance, right? Because that would mean that she would feel wanted. So I taught Vanessa my proven 6-step belief transformation process, and she finally was able to reprogram that memory and tap into her intuition for which men could really honor her and which couldn't. And then I taught her how to feel and express her feelings and how to receive attention from men in a way that felt good so she could feel safe feeling wanted. And within a month, she met an amazing man who became her boyfriend, who showers her with adoration and shares her passions and wanted to create a life with her. And they recently moved in together and adopted a cat. I just emailed her and she was like, oh, things are great. So another step in the belief shifting process to stop the pain and heartbreak is something my private and group coaching clients love and see amazing results with. I coach them how to use an embodied step-by-step process that helps them to develop a loving relationship between the different parts of themselves so they can reparent the wounded parts of them, the same way that we would lovingly nurture and empower a child. And that's because the wounded parts of us learn the limiting beliefs as children. So this way we learn to fall deeply in love with all of ourselves and really live from our deepest truth. So this is what helped Vanessa to transform that memory and heal her inner child and feel her feelings on a daily basis so that she can attract a man who really cherishes her feelings. So I empower my clients to do the daily practices and take actions from a place of their new beliefs so that they become magnetic to the things that they want, which is not just a relationship, but everything that we desire in our health and career and your relationship with money. And several of you have already expressed interest in the affordable group program. So I'll be covering that for you here in a little bit. So now let's move on to pitfall number 2. So the second pitfall that people get caught in is our negative patterns. So think about it. In your previous relationships, did you give too much? Did you keep attracting unavailable men? Were your exes cold or distant, or were you cheated on? Because there's an unconscious part of us that attracts the same pattern over and over again. And once you shine the light of loving awareness on these patterns so that you can make different choices, then you can step out of the pattern and once and for all attract a man who's loving and available and wants to sweep you off your feet. So now we'll identify the patterns that get you stuck. The purpose here is not to make you wrong, but to break the patterns, because patterns only have power over us when they're unconscious. Once we identify them, that's what allows us to heal them. So I'd like you to identify whether the following patterns are true for either you or the men that you keep attracting. So I'll just go over them quickly and you can write down which one resonates with you. Do you avoid becoming close to others? Do you fear commitment, or the men that you're dating fear commitment? Or do you keep attracting men that are unavailable? Or do you fear rejection? Do you attract men that are unfaithful or don't keep their promises? Or maybe you attract men that are critical or jealous or controlling or who have a temper or who are moody. Or do you find it hard to end a relationship even when you realize that it's harmful for you? So once you've identified the patterns that you keep repeating, I'd like to ask you a question. Now, this might sound crazy, but it's the number one reason that these same patterns keep showing up for you. So this can help you today. It might feel a little bit like the Band-Aid being pulled off, but it's worth it. And Lori's sharing, my father was unpredictably dangerous, so I attract them, and I don't trust my judgment because of it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lori. And it's true, because the question is, how much do these patterns remind you of your relationship with your parents or caretakers or siblings growing up? And so what happens is that patterns like limiting beliefs were put in place at one point to keep us from feeling painful feelings. Same thing, right? Because if we believe that we're not good enough, then we don't have to feel the pain of our parents being inadequate. So it's the same thing. What happens is that, and this is sort of like the simple version, but believe it or not, most people choose a partner who emotionally resembles the parent or caretaker who didn't meet their needs as children. And why would we do that? Because this partner is similar to their parents. They soon repeat the pattern of their childhood. So for example, your dad was emotionally cold or distant or unpredictably dangerous. Then you keep choosing partners who turn out to be that way. So why do we do this? Because to our unconscious mind, this is familiar, right? Family, familiar, your life partner or her future husband is like family, right? So it's what you know, and it's what your unconscious mind knows. Because your unconscious mind thinks that this time you can somehow get your partner to give you the love or attention that dad never did, so you don't give up. No matter how much your partner ignores or hurts you, you try even harder to be loving, hoping that you'll finally experience a happy ending to your childhood. But the happy ending never comes because your partner is as unskilled and limited as your dad was. So if you approached me as a couple and you were both willing to grow and learn to meet each other's needs, then I could help you grow together. But since you're single, you can break the pattern yourself and start attracting men that are actually loving and kind and generous and responsible and fun. Because this is the type of man that you deserve to be with. And no, I didn't personally find the last one in existence for myself. There's plenty out there. I like this slide because it depicts it perfectly. People always say, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Yeah, but I got my eye fixed on that one specific emotionally distant salmon who has commitment issues. So even though there's plenty of fish, if you want to find the right one, we have to change the pattern. So the only way out of this unhealthy pattern is to learn how to give yourself the kind of love and care that you lacked as a child. This is going to reprogram your brain that that's what you deserve, and you start to attract and be attracted to more loving partners. So the way to do this is to identify your most important emotional needs that have been unmet for most of your life and learn how to have them met when you're single, so that you experience the love that's all around you. I know that sounds easier said than done, but in my coaching program, I lead my clients through a process that helps them identify those unmet needs and first learn to meet them yourself and with the loved ones that are already in your life. And when you're able to learn how to get your needs met before you meet a man, then he's going to experience you as confident and self-assured and a keeper, and naturally put you in the long-term relationship category, not just hook up or string you along. And you won't settle for a man that can't meet your needs because you won't be needy. You'll be able to enjoy the way that he meets your needs, like affection and attention, but you won't be starved for those things because you'll know the secret of how to get it from friends and family, and most importantly, yourself. Does that make sense? So most women and men never learn this. And even when they do attract a partner after a few weeks or years, they become unsatisfied or they keep attracting the same kind of partner because they never discover their most important emotional needs and know how to truly meet them. So something always sabotages them from truly getting what they deserve. So it's back to that process that I was talking about with really learning how to be with your feelings in your body, on a sensation level, and really identify what do I need in the moment, and learning how to give ourselves love, care, nurturing, loving attention, really taking loving action for ourselves, for our inner child, for all the different parts of us, really learning how to reparent ourselves. And, our inner child wants really weird things sometimes. Like, I was in a pattern like a year ago of buying clothes from the internet, and I didn't need more clothes. And I was like, what's going on? And when I used this process to tap into what my inner child needed, she was like, I need more creativity. And when I really tapped into what she needed, she was like, I want you to learn an instrument. And I'm like, really? Okay. And so I started learning the ukulele, and I've been having tons of fun with it. I wrote a blog post about it if you want to go to my website. So it's like our inner child and our inner feelings really lead us towards our deepest needs. Like, my deepest need that I didn't get met in childhood was empathy. And so that became one of the most important things for me to find in a man. I mean, I had a lot of things that were very important to me to find in a man. Thank God my man has all of them. But one of the most important one was empathy. And that, I just noticed that, like, on our first date, he was like really deeply listening to me, wanting to know how my day was, wanting to hear about my life story, and like making very insightful, emotional comments. And I'm like, okay, I can go on a second date with this guy. But, you can tell early on if a guy has empathy. Now, that might not be your most important emotional need. So it's really about learning how to identify what your most important emotional needs are. So I have a process that helps you identify what your deepest emotional needs are, because most of us have these lists, like all the things you want in a partner, like he has to be tall, and he has to have a successful career, and has to have similar interests. But do you really know what you most deeply need on an emotional level? So I have a process that teaches you how to identify your deepest needs and how to get them met now, and then how to identify the qualities that your partner needs to have in order to meet those needs. Because this is really the key to having a deep, lasting love. Skip this step and something is always messing up the relationship. So I make sure that my group coaching and private clients really get this, and it's a game changer, and quickly. Okay, so ready to learn pitfall number 3? So pitfall number 3 is our relationship skills, because you can visualize the man you want and even meet him. But if you don't know how to turn date 1 into date 2, or share your feelings and desires in an inspiring way, or how to hear him when he's upset and not take it personally, or how to inspire him to deeper commitment, then you might attract a great guy, but then not have the skills to keep the relationship going long term. So I'd like you to take a moment and think about what relationship skills you need to learn to make love last a lifetime. So in the 5-day online adventure that I hosted back in January, I helped women clarify their vision and their values and their must-haves and their deal breakers. And I helped them create a plan for how to meet quality men. And those are the essential skills that I support women in implementing in my one-on-one and group programs. So if you did that work, great. And I'm going to talk about what's next. And if you didn't, then don't worry, because I took all of that and I made it into my next group program, which I'll talk about in a bit. So once you're interacting with quality men, there's 3 essential skills that you need to have to inspire his love and devotion and commitment. And I'm excited to share those with you. So skill number 1 is how to create magnetic connection on a date. So for example, I worked with a client named Melody. It was an attractive woman in her 40s who met attractive men, but then they didn't call her back and she wasn't sure what she was doing wrong. So I helped her to see that she was inadvertently pushing men away because she didn't understand how to create inspiring connection in the very beginning. So she was put into the wrong category in the man's mind and she never got a chance, which is so heartbreaking. She thought something was wrong with her, but we made just a few changes and she had men calling her back nearly 100% of the time. So she got to choose who she wanted to get to know deeper. So when you know your vision for a relationship and what qualities and values are the most important to you, then you're more likely to attract guys that you feel connected to because they share your values. But then you have to know how to screen your dates deeply and authentically and not make it seem like it's an interrogation, right? But really how to listen to him and how to tell what he's about in a deep level so that he reveals to you everything that you need to know without you interrogating him. And then it's much more fun and you can create a playful connection. And then dating is fun and will lead to meeting you, Mr. Right, eventually, but you don't have to put so much pressure on it. So I'd like you to take a moment and ask yourself, when I imagine going on dates, does it feel like fun or does it feel like work? Because if it's the latter, then you need to learn that skill so that you'll enjoy the process, because it's only when you enjoy the process that you'll actually engage with it fully and be successful. And remember, at the end of the webinar, I'm going to share this little known tip on how to create a magnetic connection on a date. So skill number 2 is how to navigate chemistry and compatibility, because there's 2 pitfalls that I see women falling into with chemistry. The first is blindly getting swept away in chemistry, which feels amazing for a few months and then it burns out and leads to heartbreak. We've all been swept away by a guy who's hot and charming, missing red flags, and realizing later that he's a player or emotionally unavailable. In these cases, the skill is how to vet him for compatibility before you get too attached. How to slow down and see his true colors earlier and be unwilling to compromise and settle on what we really need to be happy, to feel deeply loved and safe and fulfilled. The second pitfall is when we're not feeling chemistry on the first date with a guy who's amazing in all other ways. We need to learn how to nurture the right environment for chemistry to develop. That doesn't mean that you should date guys that turn you off. But chemistry sometimes needs a little bit of time to develop. So many women kill the connection before it forms. Many women reject men right off the bat because maybe he's bald or too short. And I'm not saying that you should date a man that turns you off, like I said. But when you look at it, you have a continuum of men to whom you're attracted, right? Let's say it's a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being like, ew, you're disgusted, and 10 being you feel fireworks just from looking at him. So usually the people who are a 9 or 10 out of 10, there's so much chemistry because he's triggering your unprocessed childhood wounds. Sorry about that. These usually are the men who have the negative personality traits that our parents did. It's like on an unconscious level, you realize that. Something inside of us is saying, ooh, this will be a happy ending to my childhood. So I actually encourage women to go out with men who are a 6 or 7 or 8. Where you feel some chemistry, but it's not fireworks. Then the skill is how to build chemistry by pacing the relationship, not getting physical too quickly and creating the right environment for chemistry to grow. Then you'll know after a few dates if you're developing attraction or not. This is a skill that I help women to really understand. We didn't learn this anywhere, and it's so hard to do it on our own. Our unconscious childhood wounds keep us going after the same people, even with a different name, but it ends up being the same guy, right? So now this is not settling. Settling is when you commit to someone who doesn't make you happy. With most single women I've coached, their now husbands were not a 10 out of 10 in the beginning, and they might have been men that my clients would have rejected at first. But what happened when they nurtured the right environment for chemistry to grow is that the way he treated her with interest and curiosity and chivalry and their growing connection made him turn into a 10 after a few dates. Her diamond in the rough emerged when she was willing to try what I suggested and see things in a new way. Like Vanessa that we talked about earlier, when she first started dating her boyfriend, he was overweight, and she was like, oh, I could never date anyone that was overweight. And I was just like, well, look, how does he treat you? And the thing is, you have to find out, is he overweight and actually like taking action on his own, that his authentic desire is to lead a healthier lifestyle? Because then you can support him to do it. But if he's overweight and he doesn't care, then you can't change him, right? So actually what she discovered on their second date is that he's already exercising and eating healthier, and he didn't like he fell into that because of an injury that he had, and he's actually really passionate about a healthy lifestyle. And once they got into a relationship, they actually started working out together and eating healthy together, and they're actually thinking of opening up a restaurant now. So it was his passion to live a healthy lifestyle, and it was just a temporary thing that he was overweight. And so you never know that when you meet a guy. You never know where he's going, right? Because direction is more important than position in the beginning. So it's important to be able to not discount men for superficial reasons initially, but then after a few dates, you'll know if the chemistry is growing or not. So this skill of navigating chemistry and compatibility, that also includes setting healthy boundaries. How to stick up for yourself when something feels wrong in a respectful way, so that you can tell if he can honor your boundaries and respect your feelings. So in my coaching program, I help women clarify their boundaries around sex and how to ask for what they want in a playful way so he can open his heart and fall in love with you. And I teach how to be able to let men go in a respectful way when we realize that he's not the one, rather than dwelling on not wanting to reject people. And I help my clients deal with rejection in a healthy way, to not take it personally, to take disappointments and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Make a positive meaning out of it. Stay resilient until you find the one. This means simply telling yourself, okay, he wasn't right for me. Next. Maybe you've taken a long break from dating, and if you have this skill, then you can learn and jump back in there and stay resilient. And Lori says again, true, my husband was a 6 or 7 who emotionally connected to a 10. That's wonderful. I mean, you said was, so I imagine you're single again, and I'm sorry about whatever didn't work. But exactly, it's, at least I imagine that's why you're here. Maybe that's not true. But yeah, what happens is that we discover after a few dates, and a lot of women reject men in the beginning and just never learn his potential. And I'm not saying that you should date a man's potential. A lot of women will get into relationships with who a man can be. You have to accept him for who he is. But the thing is, you can see over the first few months whether he actually walks his talk. So if he's like, yes, I'm interested in a healthy lifestyle and I'm interested in losing weight, like pay attention to whether he's really doing it over the first few months. And if he's not, then obviously he doesn't have as much integrity. So you can't change somebody, but you can support the change that they're already making for themselves. So skill number 3, drum roll, is how to inspire commitment. So the 4th skill is how to decide when to be exclusive with a man and keep inspiring deeper commitment. Because think about it. It used to be that women needed commitment before she had sex because she could get pregnant. But now that there's birth control and the sexual revolution, and we want to have sex before a guy makes a lifelong commitment usually. So if you agree to be exclusive with him with no idea of where the relationship is headed, he could just be thinking, I want to have all the benefits of partnership, regular sex, companionship, without making a commitment. And what's going to motivate him to propose if he's getting everything he needs without it? So I help women navigate those conversations about exclusivity and commitment in a fun, playful way, because if you ask him in a serious way, where is this relationship going? He'll feel it as a buzzkill. He needs you to be able to speak about your desires in an inspiring way and how to fully receive and appreciate how he is meeting your desires, so he'll be inspired to offer more and more commitment. And there's an art to doing this effectively, so he's inspired to step up. So for example, I worked with Natasha, who was about to break up with a man whom she was deeply in love with because he was also dating another woman and wasn't looking for monogamy yet. When she would speak about monogamy, he would close down. So she figured that she'd have to leave him. And that's when she reached out to me. She'd spoken about monogamy, but she hadn't spoken about her vision in an inspiring way. That felt too vulnerable. I coached her exactly how to share her vision for the deep, soul-shaking love and family that she wanted with him. And we role-played the conversation so she felt comfortable having it. And it turned out that he was extremely inspired by her vision, and it touched and moved him so much that he was willing to share deeper with her what he needed in order to make that vision a reality. I coached her in how to listen deeply to what he needed in order to end the relationship with the other woman and be monogamous with her. And then he did. If they hadn't had those tough conversations, then they would have never been planning on moving in together and getting engaged like they are now. So imagine the possibility of learning the skills to finally attract a relationship where you feel loved and cherished and adored. Because this is what I have, and this is what the clients that I'm telling you about have. So I'd like you to take a moment and ask yourself, which of these skills are you good at, and which do you need support with learning? Because until you have somebody really looking at what you're doing, you don't know how you're contributing to the pattern. Like, let's say you wanted to learn a sport like skiing and you keep falling down. You could read all the books you want on skiing and maybe even watch other people ski. And it helps you to have somebody else watch you, how you bend your knees and when to switch direction in turns, and point out what mistakes you're making so that you can be corrected and ski smoothly down the slope so that you can enjoy yourself. If you never have somebody point that out for you and help you see what needs to be corrected, then you'll keep getting the same poor results. And Catherine says, mine doesn't want that. He still has that roving eye, and I choose to walk. Yeah, I mean, it's true. I think that the skill of navigating chemistry and compatibility and inspiring commitment, that skill is also how to tell, like, if you've done everything that you can to share yourself authentically and share why monogamy is important to you and share your vision, and then that's not what he wants, then the skill is how to let him go. Because the more time you waste with someone that you know can't give you what you want, the less time available you have to meet somebody new. So we can certainly talk about that more, Catherine, if you want to schedule a session with me, which I'll talk about at the end. I am offering a free session if you are considering hiring a coach or joining the group. So let's move on to talk about this new group that I'm creating, because I'm really excited about it, because I've just been leading a singles group for the past 3 months, and they've gotten some amazing results, the women in it. And so I decided, the thing about the group is that we teach a certain curriculum over 6 weeks. And then they just wanted more support in implementing it. So I said, great, I'm going to start a new group. And then some of them might continue with the new group. But a lot of them are traveling for the summer. And, you know, some with men or meeting amazing men. So I am doing a new Attract and Keep Soul Shaking 6-week group coaching program. And basically what it involves is that for 6 weeks, I hold your hand and I support you in implementing the skills that you need to master to meet your Mr. Right and inspire his devotion and commitment. So the first 3 weeks are focused on removing the blocks and reprogramming the patterns that keep you stuck attracting the wrong man. And then the third 3 weeks will teach you how to master the skills that you need to ignite deep love and create the right conditions for it to grow and flourish. So now I want to show you what you'll learn in each week of the 6-week course. And then for those of you who want to get this going, I'll make it really easy for you to get started. So you can keep viewing the slides, or I'm going to put a link on the right-hand side that takes you to the info page that I have about the course, where you can also purchase it. So I'm going to put that link up now. Thank you for your patience while I do that. All right, the offer should be up. So if you click that page, then you could just follow along with me as well. Just scroll down to the middle of the page where it talks about the weeks, and then I will continue with the slide presentation. So in week 1, which is starting on June 4th, and it's on Monday nights from 8 p.m. to 9:30 Eastern time. All right, I'm just making sure the offer worked, which is great. So for 6 weeks, I hold your hand and we really create a sacred sisterhood with the members of the program. So as soon as you sign up, I send you a 30-page quick start manual, become a high quality man magnet and attract your Mr. Right. And you get to read it and implement all the lessons. And then we're also going to go over that guidebook in detail between weeks 1 and 2. What I'm going to do is every day between weeks 1 and 2, I'm going to send you it's like an adventure. I'm going to send you a video and a guided recorded meditation and a daily home play assignment. And so each day between week 1 and 2, you really get to put all this stuff into practice. And every day I'll release that on the Facebook group, and you'll also get an email about it. And so what we're going to do in week 1 is really take everybody's vision and develop a results-oriented attract and keep your Mr. Right plan. And I'm going to teach you a simple 5-minute process to connect to your inner guidance and self-love so that you really feel on track and confident which actions to take in your attract and keep your Mr. Right plan on a daily basis. So then what we do, and like I said, so that's what we do in week 1 is to create a sacred sisterhood where we really create a plan for each of you to use over the next 6 weeks. And then as soon as you sign up, you get this guidebook. And then between weeks 1 and week 2, every day for 5 days, I send you this guidebook where you'll have a guided meditation and a home play assignment that you implement, and you share about it in the Facebook group. So that, and this is what you will be getting every day in the lesson. So you get clarity on your must-have needs and values. You can be empowered in your feminine energy, so you radiate inner and outer beauty. There's guided visualizations to make you magnetic to the relationship you want, and I have awesome guided meditations that I send you every day for 5 days. And there's also a lesson to master the art of flirting so that men are mesmerized by you wherever you go. And then we develop a plan for you to easily enlist friends and family and connections to support you to attract a stream of high quality men into your life to find your Mr. Right. So that's between weeks 1 and 2, we do this 5-day adventure. And then in week 2, we really help everybody to implement it. And then in week 3, we transform the limiting beliefs that are sabotaging you from attracting and keeping your Mr. Right. So like I said, we really reprogram these beliefs at the roots. We really apply this powerful 6-step belief changing process to reparent the wounded parts of yourself so that you really reprogram those old memories and heal old wounds and fall deeply in love with all of yourself. And this is where you receive support from the group, both in the Facebook group and the calls, to take actions from a place of your new beliefs so that you become magnetic to all the things that you want. And then in week 4, we reprogram your patterns and behaviors so that you can attract quality conscious men. So this is where we really identify your key emotional needs, how to get them met now, and how to identify the qualities that your partner needs to have to meet those needs. And then you learn how to persuasively communicate those needs to the man in your life or the men that you meet so that they're inspired to meet them. And also, you learn to get your needs met easier and faster through collaboration and partnership instead of nagging or complaining or controlling. So then in week 5, we really go over how to create deep connection and navigate chemistry and compatibility with ease. So this is where we discover the best places to meet quality men, and we help each other brainstorm depending on where you live, because the group can include people internationally, but it has to work for you 8 p.m. Eastern time, although there are recordings. Like I had one woman do the group and she couldn't make the time, but she listened to the recordings and she did the one-on-one sessions that were included, which I'll talk about at the end. And it really helped her. So, and this is all of the skills that we talked about in the navigating chemistry and compatibility skill. It's really how to create chemistry over time, how to pace the relationship if there's too much chemistry, how to create empowered and loving boundaries, and how to let a man go if he's not a match for you. And I give you the exact words to use that are affirming and respectful. And then in week 6, we really go over how to inspire commitment. So you'll learn how to be authentic and vulnerable and share your feelings and desires in a safe and inspiring way so that he falls deeply in love with you. How to navigate conversations about exclusivity and commitment in a way that men actually enjoy so that you feel empowered and respected. How to decide when to be exclusive with the right man and inspire him to want that with you. And how to apply the 5-step process to ask for what you want in a way that inspires him to give it to you. So, and also how to align with your man's deeper purpose so that he sees you as the irreplaceable only woman for him, because this is what sustains his commitment over time. So you might be wondering, how does the Attract and Keep Soul Shaking 6-week group coaching program work, and exactly what does it include? So it includes 6 90-minute group coaching calls. And oops, this slide presentation is from the webinar I did in February. So it starts on June 4th, Monday, June 4th at 8 p.m. Sorry, I didn't change that slide. But yeah, the group I just finished started in February, and it was going so well that the participants chose to extend it another 5 weeks. And it includes lifetime access to the recordings of all the classes in case you miss a call or want to listen again and fully implement the teachings. Daily support and accountability through a private Facebook group. It includes one 90-minute call, one-on-one call with me to use anytime during the 6 weeks so we can customize your plan. And there's a way to get more one-on-one support, extremely affordable, which I'll talk about in a bit. You also get separate recordings of the classes. Each week, I send you a PDF workbook of your home play assignments so that you can really have the step-by-step instructions. And during the 6 weeks, you get a third off additional one-on-one coaching sessions with me. So it's really a lot of value. And like I said, when you sign up, you'll have immediate access to the Quick Start Guidebook, Become a High-Quality Man Magnet and Attract Your Mr. Right. And you'll get support in implementing your plan starting on the first call, which is June 4th. So this is the same information that I teach in my 3-month one-on-one private coaching program valued at $2,000. But the reason I created the group is because I really want to make this information affordable to more single women. So I wanted to offer it at a price that anyone can afford. And plus, you know, when you're single, it's easy to feel isolated, and the support of the group really helps. Like if you go on a horrible date, you realize you're not alone. If you go on an amazing date, then you can inspire all the other women. So I've found that groups for single women are extremely effective at inspiring each other and feeling supported. And plus, I'm also including the following bonuses. So I have this bonus class that I recorded, How to Inspire Him That You're the One, in the first few months of dating. So it's both audio MP3 and a workbook. So there's all this amazing information at your fingertips. And bonus number 2 is why men pull away and what to do about it. Because all men pull away and most women don't know the true reason why, so they misunderstand him and wind up taking actions that push him farther away. So again, this MP3 and bonus class ebook just helps you to, interpret why the man in your life is pulling away and actually respond in a way that draws him closer. And bonus number 3 is my colleagues course. So when you enroll, I will also give you access to my colleague Sharon Wilson's Coaching from Spirit Institute's Empowered Manifest Your Home Study course. So you'll learn how to use a universal spiritual energy system to attract more prosperity, have better health, and have more harmonious relationships because it all works together. And I'm also offering a special bonus for the first 7 women who sign up for the group. You'll also get an additional 90-minute one-on-one coaching session with me to use anytime in 2018. So that means that it's included with the price of the group is 2 one-on-one coaching sessions. Because maybe you're ready to have the where is this relationship going talk. So you can just jump on the phone with me and I can role play with you how to do it. Or something came up that's feeling off and you're not sure what to do. Or maybe you're nervous about a date with a guy and you want more confidence. So navigating tricky waters in the first few months is really what can make or break a relationship. So that's why the one-on-one support is also really valuable. So how much would you expect to pay for a course that has all this value plus the bonuses? Well, I'm offering the course right now for $247, and that includes the 6-week group coaching, and also for the first 7 women that sign up, you get 2 one-on-one sessions. And I do keep my groups small. So usually my groups are no more than 10 women, and that means that everybody gets one-on-one attention during the call, or at least every other call, including the one-on-one time that you get with me. And I'm on the Facebook group every day. So it really does wind up being a huge amount of value for the $247. But I love doing these groups and I love making this information affordable. So, but at the end of the month at $531, the price goes up to $297 because I really want to give people an incentive to join the group. And what I'm also doing, if you go to the page, the course page, which is up on the screen is the offer, but it's also coachvaleriegreen.com/SSL, like Soul Shaking Love. I'll put them on the slides in a bit too. I'm also offering something I've never done before because I've found, and the women in the group have found, that the combination of the group plus one-on-one coaching is so helpful. If you want more one-on-one support, I'm offering more one-on-one support for lower than I've ever offered it before. So I'm also offering, in addition to the 2 one-on-one sessions that you get if you're one of the first 7 women, I'm offering an additional 2 one-on-one sessions, and these are 90-minute sessions, plus the group for a total of $425. And I'm offering a payment plan on the bottom of the page that's $125 a month for 4 months. And so that's a total of 4 one-on-one coaching sessions plus the 6-week group for only $425 if you're one of the first 7 women. So that's just an unbelievable deal. And I'm so confident that you're going to love the group because nobody's ever used this before, but I always do offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee because I'm so confident that you'll be more than 100% satisfied. But if you're not, then just let me know. You can take the group, you can go through the first class, and if you just let me know before week 2, before the call that we have on week 2, that you don't like it, then I'll give you 100% of your money back. So you have nothing to lose. So here's everything that you'll receive. And Like I said, the link is coachvaleriegreen.com/SSL for Soul Shaking Love. So I started a 5-week group in February, like I said, and the participants were getting so much out of it. Most of them decided to continue for another 5 weeks, which we just ended. So I'm going to read to you some of the things that they said about the group, just so that you can hear what they have to say about it. So Nicole said, before working with Valerie, I was emotionally exhausted. I wanted to find a healthy partnership, but realized I needed help defining and recognizing what a good partner might look like. So in private sessions with Valerie, I've been able to explore and transform my internal feelings in a safe and productive way. And in the group, I found that I wasn't alone. Valerie is an invaluable resource while holding everyone in love and kindness. I especially appreciated that she created a positive community while guiding each group member individually, acknowledging that everyone starts wherever they are. It's therapy, life coaching, community building, and having personal cheerleaders all in one. I've already seen a change in the way I relate to men and how they relate to me. I feel more empowered and I feel I can confidently date knowing that I have the tools and support that I have been desperately searching for. And she started out just being scared of dating in general and being involved for years in an abusive relationship that I finally helped her to end. So that is Nicole's feedback. And Shanita says, I continue to heal and free myself from the shame that was instilled during childhood about simply being female, being shaped with curves, and being sexual or sensuous. I know that I am safe to stand in my femininity while men express their interest. Because she was feeling like not really able to own even flirting with men. So now she's flirting with men all the time. She says, my self-love and confidence have both increased. The group is a safe environment, excellent support, and you're not judged for wherever you currently are within yourself regarding relationships. I really love the balance of working on self-love, internal healing, and the romantic love. It's very authentic and holistic coaching rather than the shallow, superficial stuff. No tricks on how to get a guy. Perfect. Which is true. I mean, look, there's no tricking people. It's just really learning how to connect, right? So if you're on the fence and having any questions, I invite you to schedule a 30 to 60 minute call with me so that I can answer all your questions and we'll know if the course is for you. Of course, I'll be answering your questions on the webinar in a bit, but if you're watching the replay, you can just email me at valerie@coachvaleriegreen.com to set up a 30 to 60 minute time to talk. And remember, there's no risk to sign up because if you buy the course with the early bird pricing and then you decide it's not for you, I'll give you a 100% refund up until week 2. So if you secure your place with the $247 early bird price today, you'll get the coaching session with me, and it's good for any time in 2018. So I'd like you to think about, what is the struggle costing you? What's it costing you to feel lonely when you see couples or get dressed up and go on many unsuccessful dates? So just go ahead and write that down. Is it costing you joy? Or what about your health? When we feel lonely, that actually lowers our immunity. Or what about money? Are you doing retail therapy to soothe your loneliness? Or maybe you're spending it on therapy. And there's nothing wrong with therapy, but this program is a more fun, inexpensive way to remove blocks and attract a quality man. Because year after year, I hear from so many women who are frustrated, and they all strive to meet the love of their life or have better boundaries in their relationships. But those changes only happen with consistent practice and support. So that's why the course is a no-brainer, because it can lead to your love life transforming. So the way I see it, you have a choice. You can carry on with the status quo, which means this year will look a lot like last year, but I don't think you'd still be here if you were okay with that. And truly, if you could have done this on your own, you would have by now, right? It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to invest in yourself. So think for a moment, what is a loving, passionate relationship worth to you? Let's imagine 10 years from now. Are you going to be okay with the way things are now, or are you going to take action to create the relationship that you desire? because you can learn how to find the right man for you and inspire his adoration and commitment, and no amount of money is too much for that. So remember, when you sign up, you'll have immediate access to the guidebook so that you can start implementing the practices right away. So just click the link that's up or go to the link that's on the slides, coachvaleriegreen.com/SSL, and transform your love life. Because I truly want to help you meet your Mr. Right and get the love that you deserve. And I'm about to go to the secret connection tool. So thank you for staying until the end of this webinar. And as promised, I want to share with you that little no connection tool that allows you to create deep connection on a date. And then we're going to get to the Q&A. And I know some of you have typed more things into the chat. I wanted to get through the rest of the slides, and then I will get to your questions, I promise. So most people don't realize that the words you say only account for about 10% of what's communicated. The other 90% is communicated through tone of voice and body language. So I'll share with you how to use your body language to create a deep and mesmerizing connection. So first, focus on yourself. I'd like you to take a moment right now to just notice how you're breathing and take a deep, relaxing belly breath. Just notice if your shoulders are tense and relax them. And on a date, you can do these two things. And now imagine that you're on a date and you're looking at him. I'd like you to make lots of eye contact, even if it's uncomfortable. If you're taking deep breaths and you're relaxing your body, he won't be able to tell if you're uncomfortable. He'll just feel your attention on him and he'll like it. So now we'll focus on creating a deep sense of connection and trust with him. We'll do this by subtly matching and mirroring his body language, his breathing, and his vocal tempo. So keeping your shoulders relaxed and your body relaxed. I'd like you to practice subtly, no, this is subtle, but subtly mirroring him. So for example, if he leans in, wait a few seconds and lean forward a little too. He'll begin to feel more relaxed and open around you. He's going to feel deeply connected. Experiment with noticing how he's breathing and breathe at the same rate. You can tell by watching his shoulders rise and fall. Men feel a hypnotic connection when they're breathing in sync with you. You can actually use this to bond with anyone, even at job interviews. This technique really works to have people trust you and want to align with you, because when you move like them, they feel that you're like them. Don't parrot him. Do it subtly. Make sense? I really encourage you to try it. Clients have aced job interviews and gotten the job using this process. I worked with one client who used this on dates, and the man who later became her husband told her that he felt something very different than he ever experienced before on a first date. She never told him about the process, but used it every time they got together. He told her after 3 weeks that he couldn't stop thinking about her, and she kept popping in his head all day long. Of course, she was using the whole system, and within 2 months, he proposed. They had a year-long engagement, and she was able to help inspire him to meet all her needs and desires using the system I coached her on. So I want to thank you for attending this webinar. It's my deepest privilege that I get to do what I love, and it's because of you that I get that privilege. So I thank you. So click the link on the bottom of the slides, or if you can see the offer on your screen, to attract your Mr. Right. Say yes to yourself and the relationship of your dreams. Let's get you feeling wanted and beautiful and knowing that you're loved. There's just so much inner strength in having a secure, loving partnership, and I want that for you. I'm your relationship mentor, here to show you how to have that. If I can do it and my clients can have it, then you can too. I can't wait to connect with you and support you in making your dreams come true. And now I'm going to get to the Q&A. I see that there's people that have typed things into the chat. Okay. Let me get myself back up on there so you can see me again. I'm going to stop the screen share. Hi there. So I think the offer is still up there, and I now want to ask your questions. Like I said, I have this other computer, so I'll look at that for the chat, and let me see what people have typed in. So I'll just read the chat, if that's okay. And what I encourage you to do is just ask questions, because I'll be here at least until I'll be here for as long as people want to ask questions, and at least for the next 40 minutes, because I love answering people's questions. And and then some people also emailed me questions, which I can answer if people feel too shy to type them into the chat, but I'm happy to answer questions in the chat. All right, so Catherine says, I do need a coach. I gave up on dating after him because I'm still working on myself. No contact so far. Do I miss him? Yes, but I must continue to live. Haha. Yes, of course. And I think that's good. Once you break up with the guy, if you feel like you can't be friends with him, then no contact is good. Because, you know, a lot of us need that to really get over him. Lori said, I have a friend who's a Muslim woman from Sudan who's very nervous about making a good choice of a husband in an arranged marriage. Do you think you can help her? Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you heard from people that have done my group is how non-judgmental and accepting I am. So I've worked with people from all different cultures, and the statistics for arranged marriages are, I mean, not that I advocate that for people that don't come from that culture, but the statistics for arranged marriages is actually really high in terms of satisfaction, because think about it. If you know that you're with this person for the rest of your life and you have to stay with him, then both people actually make it work. They're committed. I think what happens with a lot of people is they're not all in. And if you're not all in, then you don't really learn how to make it work. So that's the advantage to arranged marriages. I'm not saying that, we should do that. It's not our culture. But what you're saying is that she's nervous about making a good choice of husband in an arranged marriage. So is she the one choosing the husband, or her family's choosing it for her? And what exactly is she nervous about? But yeah, I mean, I'm really happy to work with anybody that I can help. What I am offering everybody, I always do offer one free get to know you session. And so if you want to give her my email, which is Valerie@coachvaleriegreen.com, I can type that into the chat. Let me go back to the chat. So I'm just going to give everybody my email here. Make sure that's right. If you want to give her my email, then I'm happy to set up a free 60-minute session with her to explore how I might be able to help her. And there's no risk to her, but I do this from my heart. So I'm happy to see if I can help her. And Catherine says, the only one I want to look at is not facing me. He knows how we feel about each other. So what do you mean by that? He's not facing you? Yes, Lori, you can give your friend the replay of this seminar. Sure. You can also send her to my website, and maybe she can connect with whatever. I have free ebooks on there, free downloadable ebooks, and some videos that she can watch and blog posts. Catherine said, you and Elizabeth Purvis almost look alike. I've heard that before. That's cool. Thanks. I think she's pretty. And Yeah, Catherine, what do you mean the only one I want to look at is not facing me? He knows how we feel about each other. Are you saying that there's a guy that you know that likes you and you like him, but he's not asking you out? Not in the room to speak to each other. So what would you like with him? Do you want him to ask you out? Like, why isn't anything happening? And I'm sorry about the 30-second delay, but I'm happy to keep answering your questions, Catherine. I know it's limited over text, but what I am offering, if anyone has questions about whether the group can help them or whether I can help them, then I'm happy to set up a free session to just explore that. And like I said, I have a payment plan. So if you feel like you can't afford the group, then I'm happy to set up a payment plan to pay even the $247 off over several months. Like whatever we can make work for you. If I really feel like I can help and you're really willing to do the work, then I'm happy to set up a payment plan. So, I don't want anyone to turn the group down because you can't afford it. Because the group I find, especially with the combination with the group and the one-on-one, especially if you're one of the first 7 women to sign up, then you get 2 one-on-one sessions included. And so for $247, normally I charge $150 just for 1 coaching session. So to have 2 coaching sessions for less than what you normally pay for 1, and plus being supported for 6 weeks with the group. One of the things that the women said about the group, all of them, and not all of them have gotten back to me with the testimonials yet, because we literally just ended last week. Only 2 of them got back to me. The rest are like, I'm busy, but I'll get them to you. But of course, they all stayed until, they renewed for another 5 weeks, which is one of the reasons I made it 6 weeks instead of 5, because I want to make it affordable. So I don't want to make it like you have to buy into a longer group, but all of them thought 5 weeks was too short. They wanted to extend it another 5 weeks. And they all felt that the support of the group was so important, because what happens when you're dating is, even if you're using all these skills, dating is still a learning process. You're still attracting low quality men, and then you want to ask yourself, what are my beliefs? What are my patterns that are causing this? Or what am I learning about myself through this man? What am I learning to recognize in the beginning that he's not the one for me? What do I do differently next time? Maybe I shouldn't go out with someone if I have this gut feeling about it. So it's all a learning process over time. And so the support of the group really helps, because then you see that everyone in the group is having similar challenges. Everyone said they saw mirrors of everyone else in the group in what they were going through, and then they stopped feeling like there was something wrong with them. They were like, oh, I'm not the only one. Everyone else is going through this too. I feel normal. And then they also felt like they could step out of their comfort zones more, because they knew that they were going to be able to speak about their experiences and be supported by all the other women. And so that was really helpful. And then when one of the women met somebody who was really treating her well, and how well the date went, she got to inspire everyone else about what was possible. So the group is just so useful in so many ways. So Catherine's saying, we shared space for a few months. Learning about one person every day took a lot of work, time, and love. At least that is what I thought we had. He's a workaholic. He loves being close with other women. The reason we split, obstacles in between those, including religious beliefs. Yeah. So I'm sorry about that, because it sounds like what you want and what he want are not aligned. So it's good then that you're letting him go. And you're saying that he's the only one that you want to look at. So the question is, do you want to meet someone else? And have you been able to fully let him go? And are you ready to meet someone else? And are you taking action to meet someone else? So that's the next question I can ask you. And I know there's this 30-second delay, so I can go to some of the questions that other people sent me and keep reading those in between answering your questions. But Catherine, feel free to keep sharing, and I can keep interacting with you here in the chat. I can't let him go. Meeting someone else, tried. Okay. This has happened before with some of my clients where they think that they need to meet the next guy to let go of the last guy. But it's like a catch-22, right? Because it's hard to meet the next guy if you're still focused on the last guy, but it's hard to let go of the last guy until you meet the next guy. So I can't let him go. So what have you tried to let him go? Because letting go is like a mourning process. We really have to allow ourselves to feel the sadness and maybe the anger or the regret or the hurt or whatever it is that we're feeling around the relationship, with the belief that there is somebody better out there for us. And there is a process that I teach clients called the goodbye process. I'm happy to share that with you if you want, if that would be helpful to both Catherine and others. Basically, the goodbye process is like a journaling process that you go through, and it could also be like a guided meditation. But you really allow yourself to get out all your feelings. So the first thing that you do when you're letting somebody go, and you don't have to send this to them, but it's like journaling a long letter. The first thing you do is you write out all of the wonderful, yummy moments and yummy memories and positive things that you learned and you got and you experienced. You write it all out and you relive those positive memories, and you really allow yourself to bask in the goodness that was there. Otherwise, you wouldn't have stayed, right? And these are also the keys to what you want with the next person, like the qualities about him you liked, what worked, what good memories you have. And then the second thing, of course, is that you write out all the things that didn't work. Can't speak right now. So like Catherine saying, here's a workaholic, he has a wandering eye. And so what are all the negative memories about that? What are all the qualities about him you didn't like? What's the reasons why it's not working? Like really write that out and then feel the feelings. Be willing to feel the feelings with compassion and really allow that to move through you, and really allow yourself to get on a deep level why it's not working. And the third thing is then you write out everything that you want with the next person. You really reignite the dream. You take the good things and you take the opposite of the bad things, and you really write out a vision of what you want with the next person and what it is that you deserve, what you want it to look like and feel like, and what values and characteristics and qualities and experiences, and what lifestyle do you want to have together, and what do you want to create together in the world. And I mean, of course, I have this all written out. I can email this process to anybody if they email me. But you really create the vision of what you want with the next person, and you transmute those feelings of sadness and anger. Like anger is a very powerful emotion because you can transmute it into, instead of being against something, you can use the force of the anger to be standing for what you want. So you declare that this is what you deserve, and let that commitment to yourself be what propels you out of the relationship that didn't work into meeting somebody else that really wants to create what you want. And so then you could either save this letter, or you can rip it up, or you can burn it or bury it, or whatever you want to do, but make sure that you're feeling all the feelings through the process. And you might be sad and you might mourn the loss of somebody, but letting go is really a process of letting go. So I don't know, Catherine, if you want me to keep reading what you're writing. but you're posting it, so I'll keep reading it. She says, all the other vices, so far drinking a bit to soothe my inner girl, eating, reading enough material to start growing a forest, universal signs that point to him. The letter, honey, it would be so spicy that it would burn all by itself. Ooh, child. I like spicy letters. She's went to tons of frogs in the past 46 years. The last 3.5 years is too much. Yeah, I mean, you really have to decide. Sometimes we do need to take a break from dating. Sometimes we really do have to make the rest of our life so rich and juicy. Like, so then I encourage women, if they're not ready to quite get out there and meet somebody else, to build your social network, because you never know. Like I wasn't I wasn't really, like, when I met my partner now, I wasn't like making it my life's focus to meet a guy. I was actually just wanting to build my social network. So I focused on creating deep connections with girlfriends and going to meetups and really building up my friends to be closer, and, you know, going to more parties, in the healthy parties. Like, my friends throw parties at yoga studios, and, you know, luckily I'm in New York where there's tons of holistic oriented culture, which is what I'm into. But one of my friends organized a party at a lake house that his parents own and invited 20 people there. And my partner now happened to have moved to New York recently and met one of my friends, and he invited him to the lake house, and there he was and there I was, and we met each other, and I wasn't like there to meet someone. So the thing is that what I teach people to do is to separate a need from a strategy. So the need is love and connection and intimacy, and the strategy is meeting a guy to get that. But how can you get those needs met both from yourself, like soothing your little girl in other ways, which I'm sure you do. But, you know, we could always learn how to soothe our inner child on a deeper emotional level. And so what are the things that she really wants you to do to soothe her? And also, how can you get love and intimacy and connection met from other women in your life, and increase your friend network and just be fully satisfied? Because once you are fully satisfied, then not only will it not hurt as much when a guy doesn't show up for you, or doesn't, you know, shows up and doesn't want what you want, but you don't know who you're going to meet through connections with other women and communities. So that's what I would guide Catherine to do if she's not ready to date yet, is to really get out there socially, make more friends, make closer connections with the friends you already have, because that's what really fills you up, and you don't know who they know. Lori says, I'm finding it hard to let go of my latest relationship because I have very rarely attracted anyone. So I'm afraid I won't attract anyone else. Yeah, that's a very common fear. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm just reading that again. It's a very common fear, because I imagine it's a fear on both sides, and let me know if this is true, but there's the fear of course, like what you're saying, that you're afraid that you're gonna go out there and be unsuccessful, that you're not going to meet anyone, and that's going to hurt. But I imagine there's also a fear on the other side that you're going to meet somebody that you are deeply connected to, and because it hasn't been safe in the past, then you're going to be scared of getting hurt again. So the fear is probably on both sides. I'm just imagining that because that's what other women I've worked with have had. And I mean, first of all, I want to say that part of the advantage of sharing that in a group is exactly like what Catherine just said. I feel that, Lori. And so thank you, Lori. I feel that too. And thank you, Catherine. Is being supported by other women, just in being seen and heard in that. So thank you for sharing that. And another advantage of the group is just that there's people there to hold you through the process of being seen and going through the process of dating. And, you know, if you don't meet anybody, then of course you're going to be supported with what actions you're taking to meet people. But just taking the actions and identifying your limiting beliefs and your patterns, like what I'm getting for you, Lori, and let me know if you've done this work already, but the work with identifying your pattern, because you were saying that you keep attracting men that remind you of your father, who I believe you said, if I scroll down, that he was emotionally dangerous. So, I mean, that's a lot to handle as a child. So I imagine that you've developed various coping mechanisms, as everybody does. Like the coping mechanism I developed, because my dad was not really emotionally available, was to just be in my head and not feel my feelings. And so I met really smart men, but they weren't emotionally available either. And so my relationships were superficial at first before I really looked at this pattern. So we all come up with coping mechanisms. And so what I would encourage you to do, Lori, is to go through this process of the reparenting process, like how far, and narc parents are dangerous people, Catherine's saying. I mean, the thing is, you know, unfortunately, our parents can't help but do to us what their parents did to them, unless we do a lot of healing work on ourselves. And healing work, you know, requires a huge amount of commitment and effort. And hopefully all parents do it better than their parents did, right? We all do it a little better than the previous generation. But unfortunately, you know, most of us don't grow up with parents that model the kind of love that we want, right? So it's really about learning the reparenting. And Laura says, yes, I share info instead of being vulnerable or parent the partner. Exactly. Yeah, and that's what I used to do. I mean, you know, I like sharing information like I did in this webinar, but I'm trying to also be vulnerable. Yeah, I really had to learn how to be vulnerable. I really had to learn how to, and the skill is not just being vulnerable, especially in the beginning of the dating process, because we have to learn who's safe to be vulnerable with and who's not, you know, so it's really learning how to test men to see if they're empathic, to see if they're emotionally vulnerable. That's also something I talk about in the group program and in the coaching, is like how to test men in the beginning in a way that doesn't seem like a test. I mean, you just introduce vulnerability slowly and see if he can really honor it. But yeah, the reparenting is really powerful. It's really learning how to be with your inner child. And, you know, your inner child is just the feeling part of you. It's learning how to make her feel safe and protected, because no matter what somebody else does or doesn't do to honor her, you can honor her. And you can give her the love and the empathy and the soothing and the care and the play that she needs. And it's really just learning how to take care of our own feelings and how to hold our own vulnerability. That was something that my partner, in the beginning of the relationship, that shocked him, because he'd never been with a woman who could hold her own vulnerability. He always thought his thing was, the reason he didn't want a committed relationship in the beginning was because he felt like, well, I really want a woman who's feminine, but but it feels like then she's such a burden. She has so many needs. I have to take care of her. And I was like, so he's like, I want you to be vulnerable, but then I don't want it to feel like a burden. And I was like, well, I can hold my own vulnerability. I mean, in the beginning, obviously, like, you have to hold your own vulnerability in the beginning. Then as we started to develop more commitment, then he was like, oh, I want to meet all your needs. I want you to be vulnerable with me and have me take care of your feelings. But he only was motivated to do that because I also take care of his feelings, right? It's a give and take. We both give to each other and we both receive from each other. So he was like, what? You can hold your own vulnerability? Well, then I actually feel safe to fully be myself. And nobody had ever provided that for him before, because I was used to holding my inner child when she was upset. And I had to learn that over the years. This is just something I've been studying, for the past 20 years. So I know I look young, but I studied it for 20 years, so you don't have to study it for 20 years. And I love how Lori and Catherine are connecting. This is just one of the things that is beneficial from a group, is that we all get to see what we have in common. Catherine says, yes, do you is my motto. Exactly. I raise boys, dressing more feminine is a test. I need an Oprah closet. Yeah, right? Who doesn't want an Oprah closet? Although the apartment that me and my partner just moved into has 6 closets, which is a lot for New York. And I was like, all right, I'm taking 4 of them for my clothes. And he was okay with that. So who doesn't like nice feminine wardrobes? But yeah, that's what we do when we learn as a child, when our parents are unpredictable and emotionally volatile, then usually, and this is what happened with my partner, although I won't share a lot about him because, he's kind of a private person, but it happens to a lot of people where then we feel like, as a child, we have 2 choices. We either, like I said, we either decide our caretakers are dangerous, in which case I'll die, or we say, either there's something wrong with me, or it's my job to take care of them, because that's the only way that we can then guarantee that we'll be safe, is if we become caretakers, right? Because that means that we'll get the love that we deserve. Then maybe if we take care of them, then they'll take care of us, right? But unfortunately, with emotionally volatile parents, that doesn't usually happen. And then we grow up feeling like we have to take care of everyone else. And then there's nobody to take care of our inner child. And so, with people who might not understand what an inner child is, your inner child is just the feeling part of you. And you can think about it as an inner child, or if you don't want to think about it as your inner child, then you could just think about it as there's the intellectual part of you, which is where I used to hang out because it was safe. And then there's the emotional part of you. Like, we all have different parts of us. And the emotional part of us is like, we're responsible for taking care of our feelings. Our feelings are like the signpost. It's like our inner guidance to let us know that there's a need that we have that isn't getting met. And so the skill is learning how to tune into what is that need, and how can I give that need to myself, and how can I get it met in healthy ways? Like, what's the loving action that I can take to meet that need in healthy ways? And so that's what it means to hold our own vulnerability. And, I find it's useful and helpful to look at it like an inner child, just because we're responsible for children, right? If there's a child you think, I'm responsible, like you wouldn't be in a room with a crying child and not attend to that child's feelings. So, but a lot of times we abandon our own feelings. And so thinking about our feelings as a child helps us to see, I'm responsible for that child. What does that child really need? How can I attend to that child's needs? And sometimes the child needs to be heard. Sometimes she needs us to nurture ourselves. Sometimes she needs us to go out and get a massage. Sometimes she needs us to learn to play an instrument. I don't know. So anyway, I'm reading the thread. Lori says, I have a lot of pieces to realign. I'm hearing all the right things. That's good. So I'm not understanding what everyone's saying, but Catherine and Lori are talking to each other, which is awesome. I mean, I love encouraging women to connect, and that's what the group is so amazing for. So the group is over Zoom and we all get to see each other over video, which is much better than this webinar, which is over chat. But if I did a Zoom group for us to all see each other now, then there'd be too many people talking over each other. So that's why, the group is a paid thing where everyone is interested in supporting each other and what we're implementing over the 6 weeks. So does anybody else have any other questions for me? And I'm happy for people to connect with each other over the chat too. I feel like that's just great that people are connecting. Some people did email me questions, so I will see if I have time to read the questions that people emailed me. Let me see. All right, well, here's one that I think would be relevant. So one woman says, I'm really busy, I work long hours, and I always run into the same people. How do I meet quality men? And Catherine says, I have to go. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. And I encourage you to reach out to me, email me if you want to set up a call. So I'll answer that question and then we will end unless anybody who's still here live wants to ask another question. But I'll answer that question. So the thing is that this is really common because when we're young, when we're in our 20s, it's easy to meet people, right? Because you have classmates, you have, parties to go to where a lot of other 20-somethings go to because everyone's single and it's easy to meet people. But then once we get established in our careers, most of us run into the same people all the time, and then it's hard to meet new people. And so the thing is that what we need to do is first get really clear on what are the top values, what are the top emotional needs that we have, what are the top must-haves in a relationship and the deal breakers. We need to have that clear. And what are our relationship goals? We need to have that clear before we go out and meet people, because otherwise, you'll just go based on chemistry, and that we know fizzles out after a while. And also to get clear on our limiting beliefs and patterns so that we're not just attracting that. But then once we clear that stuff up, meeting new men is really about getting outside our comfort zone and exposing ourselves to new environments, preferably with men that have shared values, because people think that shared interests is what, creates compatibility. Like, oh, we both like to play tennis, or we both like traveling. But shared values is really what creates compatibility over time. Like one of my top values is personal growth and healing. And the fact that my partner shares that with me means that whenever we identify something that's not working, we're both really committed to healing it and growing together. And that's just something that lasts a lifetime, and that, I wouldn't settle for a relationship without that. So it's like, once I identified that that was important to me, it's like, where are you likely to meet people that share your values? That might not be yours, but of course I'm a coach, so that was mine. So I started I started going to meetups, like, for people that are interested in personal growth and communication and, making friends with people in those groups. And that's how I wound up going to that party that I met my partner. So where do people that share your values hang out? And what meetups could you go to? Or maybe for you, you want to go somewhere where you're volunteering, because that's a way to meet men that are caring and generous. Or if you're into a particular type of spirituality or religion, then that's a really great place to meet men, because they generally share your values of spirituality or religion, which, if that's important to you, then that's the best place to meet men. Or maybe, you're really interested in like, if if you are interested in traveling the world and that could be a value of adventure, then you need to meet a guy that's adventurous. Like, where would you meet a guy that's adventurous? Like, maybe take a rock climbing class or, a scuba diving class or something. Like, you don't know where you're going to meet somebody. But the thing is just to really get outside your comfort zone and go to activities and groups and communities of people that share your values. And then, of course, a huge way to meet people is online. But I find that it's really important that your online profile talks about your vision and your values. And that's one of the things that I help people do, is to make their online profile really stand out and show who you are and show what's important to you. And because a lot of people go online, but if they don't do that, then it's not really an effective system. I mean, of course, like, low quality men will reach out to you no matter what, but you want to present yourself so that the guys that do share your values will show interest. So I do cover all of that in the group, and I'm excited to support people in doing that. And so if the person who wrote the question reaches out to me, then I'm happy to talk to you more about it. So it is almost 10 o'clock. So if nobody has any more questions, then I will get going. But like I said, I encourage everybody to reach out to me. I put my email in the chat. It's kind of far down now, though. Thank you, Catherine and Lori, for sharing so much. My email is valerie@coachvaleriegreen.com, and I will also be emailing you all a replay, so you will have my email if you just want to respond to it and tell me that you'd like to talk more. I'm happy to talk to each of you to discover if the next group is right for you and to see how I can support you. And I just thank you for being here, because it's because of all of you that I get to do what I love. And of course, it's also because of the amazing relationship I have that I can take the love that I'm experiencing and share it with the world, which is what I want for all of you. I want all of you to find that love within yourself and share it with the love of your life, so that you can be inspired to serve others in whatever way you're called to do, and be in that joy that is your birthright from, being in the partnership that you deserve. Because I believe that if you want it, if you have the desire for it, it's because you can have it. Like, we don't want things that we can't have. Like, there's many things I can't have, like I'm not going to be an Olympic athlete, right? But like, I don't want it. I don't have a desire to be an Olympic athlete. It's the things that are really deep in my heart. The reason they're deep in my heart is because I can have them, And so if you have a desire for deep mind, body, spirit love, then it's because you can have it. And so I want you to leave with that belief. And I want you to be able to get whatever support you need to remove the blocks to having it. If it's working with me or if it's some other method, I just really want you to be able to have the love that you desire. So that is my wish for you. And I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day or evening. And I am leaving you all with love. Mwah.